Warning, unlocking coffee and Zepbound weight loss mixture. Hi, beautiful friends. I'm Elizabeth, Countess of Shopping. I have lost over 112 pounds. I almost said 125 pounds. That's not true. It's 112 pounds over the last 2.5 years of being on Zepbound, Mounjaro, and Tirzepatide compound, not at the same time. The mixture of those is because of shortages. And on today's episode, I found this fascinating article on coffee and the interaction with GLP-1 medication. And from somebody who is a coffee lover who loves GLP-1s, I wanted to deep dive into some of the warnings with coffee associated with GLP-1s and also some of the added benefits. We're going to talk about both. Make sure you stay to the end because I've got the data on this is fascinating, and share it with your bestie. Let's dive in. So in this article, which you guys know, I'll cite my sources down below. I demand and require to be factually accurate. It will be in the description link. Click the ... information. Is basically that there was this article that was reviewed, by the way, too, by a doctor, in addition to getting published, that 73% of Americans enjoy a daily coffee fix. I know, I do. I just had my second cup and I'm like so excited about life. 73% of Americans enjoy coffee on a daily basis. And so if you're on Zepbound, Ozempic, Mounjaro, semaglutide compound, tirzepatide compound, I'm lumping us all together, but there's GLP-1 and GIP hormones is Zepbound, Mounjaro, tirzepatide. GLP-1 is Wegovy, Ozempic. So I'm going to go back and forth on them, but know that Zepbound, Mounjaro, tirzepatide has 2 hormone receptors. Ozempic, Wegovy, semaglutide has 1. So I'm lumping them together, but they're technically different. So with this coffee interaction on there, the good news is there's no known interaction between GLP-1s with coffee, but it can affect your digestion and a couple of other things with the caffeine. And so with this, I was doing a deep dive because coffee makes me incredibly jittery. Don't worry, I've got solutions for you. But exploring the interaction of, there's not an interaction with Wegovy, Ozempic, Mounjaro. However, there's this new thread that's getting pulled with caffeine in relation to GLP-1 medication. So caffeine in relation to your Wegovy, caffeine in relation to your Zepbound, is that the US FDA notes that 2 to 3 12-ounce cups of coffee, which, by the way, usually mine are like 50 ounces. You know what I'm saying? Like mine are not 12-ounce cups. As I was reading that, I was like, 12 ounces? Like a Diet Coke can is 12 ounces. So think of a Diet Coke can. This is probably bigger. I should have measured. It's probably bigger than that. But 2 to 3 12-ounce cups of coffee are okay for most people. But there is some research suggesting that people with type 2 diabetes, so our Mounjaro friends and our Ozempic friends, might be a little bit more sensitive to the caffeine. Since Ozempic can cause gastrointestinal effects, it can help to have more information on this. So when we're talking specifically about Wegovy, Ozempic, Mounjaro, like again, all the GLP-1s, that one of our side effects is nausea, but also the acid reflux of it, of like that heartburn component of where it's coming up. I had that at the very beginning on Zepbound. Back in the day when I was on it, was Mounjaro, but there was no such thing as Zepbound back in the day. But Mounjaro 2.5 milligrams, Zepbound 2.5 milligrams, and the second dose, which is 5 milligrams of Mounjaro and Zepbound, I had not great heartburn. Like I was taking Tums at nighttime, and it was just at nighttime too. It was really weird. But with this, it's signaling that coffee for you potentially can cause that heartburn in there when combining it with acidic or caffeinated drinks like coffee. So it's not just coffee that comes into this, but if you're having other caffeinated drinks or acidic drinks. The good news though, is that these show up early on. Like typically speaking, however, I have said before, and I will say all along, just because and I'll use my personal I statements because none of this is medical advice, always talk to your own healthcare provider, simply my own experience, strength, and hope. On my journey, I did not have nausea and vomiting. I vomited 3 times now. I didn't have that till Zepbound 15 milligrams until I got to the highest dose. So keeping that in mind, just because you don't have one side effect, which is why I recommend having that side effect kit that I talk about in other videos underneath your sink. It's also listed down in the description link below under my Amazon shopping list. But so with this, in clinical trials, around 44% of people taking Wegovy's highest dose, which is 2.4 milligrams, I'm lumping in Zepbound and Mounjaro 15 milligrams, which is the highest dose for both, experienced nausea. For Wegovy, it's 44%. For Zepbound and Mounjaro, it's in the 30s. Off the top of my head, I'm saying that. but opposed to 20% of people taking 1 milligram of Wegovy and Ozempic. So that's the middle-ish dose. So just keeping that in mind for, and same thing for Zepbound and Mounjaro folks. Everyone's tolerance is different, but here's where it can interact a little bit differently on there, is that gastric emptying is delayed with GLP-1 medication. And so that's where you could personally have with the coffee some potential issues. Now, one of the things I noticed straight out the gate is I got very jittery when I started taking GLP-1 medication specifically. More so that I had to switch over to decaf. I do half calf now. I'll have 1 cup of decaf, 1 cup of caffeinated. My husband makes half and half. My dad used to do that, and he's done that for like 20 years. And now I'm like, I'm just like my daddy, that I do that too. But what I switched over to recently, and I've been so excited talking about this, is because of Zepbound fatigue. I was wanting coffee. I got too jittery, and the rest of the side effects we're going to talk about in here too, as a result of having too much caffeine and too much coffee, that me switching over to find something to help me with my Zepbound fatigue, which I feel on days, typically day 2 and day 3, or excuse me, 24 to 48 hours after my shot. So I've done for you guys before my little, it's under my systems video of how on shot day, same as my shot days on Monday, I feel the most side effects on the 24 to 48 hours after, so Tuesday, Wednesday, if my shot day's on Monday. So for me, that Zepbound fatigue is typically on Tuesday and Wednesday. Well, that can, as someone who's a high functioning with my job, I'm a wife, I'm a mom. I now just got picked as room mom for 4th grade for my kids' class. I was selected. Woo! I'm so excited about that. But so on here, having that fatigue is why I've had to bring in, and I'm so excited about it because it's been working so well, is Gem Bites, their energy bites, specifically with their energy bites, because they help so much. They're jitter-free energy. It has bloat relief on there, but it also has the food and endurance and helps with metabolic support. I love them. I'm just gonna open up a fresh bag so you guys can see what they look like. They're these little bites. I typically have them. You can even have them on an empty stomach on there too. I have not found any sort of, and you guys know I have a sensitive tummy. A sensitive tummy. They have in there where I can have them on an empty stomach if I wanted. They look like this. They're delicious. They have profile flavorings of chocolate on there. You can see, like, it's perfect. It's so perfect. But it has on there where it's helping with my energy. So if we go over to coffee, a half a cup of coffee is 40 milligrams of caffeine. With, excuse me, in the energy bites, it's akin to a half a cup of coffee with 40 milligrams of caffeine in there. It has the L-theanine in there, is no jitters or crash, 97 milligrams of that. It also has in there the iodine, which my doctor told me with my hypothyroidism about taking iodine, which is one of the other things for all of my hypothyroid girlies and gentlemen. I'm so excited. There's iodine in here, 50 milligrams of it. I'm like, yes, which also helps with metabolism. So even if you don't have issues with hypothyroidism, it helps though with the metabolism component with the iodine on there. And then it has ginseng root extract too, which is awesome. Now the caffeine alone, it can have like that jittery feeling. You guys know what I'm talking about. And because of the delayed gastric emptying the delayed gastric emptying from GLP-1 medication, for me, the jitters seem to last a little bit longer. And so one of the things that I've loved about taking Gem Bites, the energy bites, is because it's caffeine that's rooted in real food nutrients in there. So it's clean energy support. I'm literally eating this too, which I like, so I don't have that anxiousness. I'm naturally an anxious person to begin with. And so not having extra anxiousness added is so, I'm like super happy about it too. Of course, like why would I not be? That's amazing. And then also in there, here's some of the ingredients. It has in there the prebiotics. It has also in there too, you can see all the listed ingredients. Like I'm obsessed, like obsessed. And the studies are showing with these too, how helpful it is when we switch up, because it's based in green tea. Let me go back over to the ingredients. Because it has in there, the green tea is where the caffeine's coming from. For me, that dramatically changes the energy jitters because it's green tea. And honey, I don't want to drink green tea because it tastes like grass, and that rhymes with something else to me. It's green tea. I'm not a fan. So having the tea component of it. But so this included in the Gem Bite It is so helpful. It is so helpful, so helpful, so helpful. So make sure you run to dailygem.com/queen, QUEEN. Use the discount code QUEEN to save an extra 20% off of your first order with Gem. I absolutely love their products, and it's been very helpful for me, particularly with my Zepbound fatigue. I will also link that down in the description link below. In terms of having for your own research with GLP-1 medication with coffee, and specifically then with caffeine, that caffeinated drinks probably don't impact your appetite with GLP-1s and gastric emptying, at least not in the way semaglutide does. So that being said, sugary, greasy, fatty foods are linked to slowed digestion with GLP-1s. So it may be more important to pay attention to your sugar content and latte additives than coffee alone. And that's where some people jack up their coffee, is what they're adding to it. It's not the coffee that's the problem, or the coffee that's causing them gastric or causing them nausea, diarrhea, constipation, vomiting, which I don't know that many people who get constipated with taking coffee, but here we are. But I think that one of the things that is not as much noted is what you're adding into the coffee. So are you adding sugar into it or other things into your latte? So drinking too much coffee on its own set of side effects that will overlap with GLP-1 specifically. Without coffee, like just on its own, constipation, vomiting, diarrhea, or nausea, abdomen pain, stomach pain, and then if having too much caffeine added in with GLP-1s, it's shakiness, insomnia, headaches, dizziness, increased heart rate, dehydration, and anxiety. My friends, some people are saying, and in my free encouragement group, which I am completely obsessed with, it's hotter than hot. I said that the other day, and my kid goes, "Do what now, Mom?" I was like, it's hotter than hot. It's the best. countessofshopping.com/group, my free group. My husband and I pay over $1,000, and by the end of the year, it will be $5,000 we pay for this group. It is our gift to you for free. Take advantage of that free resource. It is awesome, encouraging, fabulous group. I'm obsessed with it. But people in there, I've seen people talk about, a couple of times, people are like, I have increased anxiety because of GLP-1 medication. And the studies have been interesting on that there's really not. I will correct myself if that data is new or there's updated information, but what I've previously read, there's not correlation between increased anxiety and GLP-1 medication, because it would be listed on our side effects and it's not. But with the anxiety, my question then is, when people have appetite suppression, and for me, this is very true. When I have appetite suppression, meaning I'm eating less, I'm not as hungry, my beverage consumption goes up. And literally with my beverage consumption, as I knock everything down, with my beverage consumption, what am I putting in that cup? Is that cup giving me more anxiety because it has caffeine in it? This is again why I have made this awesome switch over to Gem Bites Energy Bites, because I know that it has in there that green tea, which is super, super helpful for my energy within it because I'm eating it. And so with that, could the shakiness, insomnia, headaches, dizziness, increased heart rate, dehydration, anxiety, because you're having too much caffeine, because you're not eating as much, so maybe you're drinking more because of that hand, I don't know about you, but I definitely have that hand grabbing thing. I notice that pretty much every 24 to 48 hours after my shot. So if my shot day's on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm grabbing for stuff, and it's not food, it's a beverage. In that beverage, is that what's causing your headaches? Is that what's causing your dizziness? Because you are not, or increased heart rate, because you're unknowingly drinking more coffee, Diet Cokes. Like, I'm just throwing out some caffeinated things. You see what I'm saying? Like, see the pathway that I'm going down? That is where I think that this is an interesting conversation also. Now, coffee, in addition, can be acidic. So, that increase in acid may cause problems like gas and bloating, and coffee can be linked with increased stomach acid. If you're having that slower gastric emptying on there with increased stomach acid, for some people, that could potentially make you more sensitive to acid reflux. Now, we know, if you're not a big fan, they also recommend coffee protein shakes, which I have a ton of coffee recipes here on countessofshopping.com. They're under my YouTube short videos, a ton of them, a ton of them, because I really do like making protein coffee shakes. They're delicious. And that's a less acidic option. but still has the caffeine in those. If you're having those protein coffee shakes, I just bought 3 of them and I was like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of caffeine in there. Just keeping that in mind for your jitters. If you're feeling anxious, jittery, going back to those side effects, dehydrated, increased heart rate, dizzy, headaches, insomnia, shakiness. If you're having trouble falling asleep, maybe it's because you've unknowingly had more protein coffee shakes too. So if you're sensitive to coffee, it's a good idea to monitor how you feel, like acid reflux, and talk about that with your healthcare provider. Coffee may raise your cortisol. So drinking too much coffee can affect your stress levels. If you are already stressed and you're adding more stress levels on there with drinking those extra cup of coffees, that's something you probably want to talk to your healthcare provider about. I know for me, during peak stressful seasons, usually I'm not sleeping as much, and so I do increase my caffeine, which it's kind of like a circle then of I'm not sleeping as much because I'm stressed, so I increase my caffeine, but that increased caffeine on there is going to be not great with cortisol, with these stress hormones on there. And so having cortisol with stress hormone can make you feel alert, but it can be problematic. It also, high cortisol levels can lead to an increased heart rate and blood pressure. And if you have high blood pressure, right? Like this is something we need to be talking about. And so stress can also influence our eating habits, particularly if we go from 3 portion sizes like I did. I'd have like 3 meals. Like I'd always want a refill of food, a second helping or third helping. So going from these big portion sizes down to these small portion sizes, being really mindful of what we're choosing in those smaller portion sizes is very important as well. So sugary foods, salty foods, high fat foods. In 2019, a study suggested that people who experience higher stress levels are more likely to crave sugary foods, salty foods, high fat foods. It has a direct correlation on your food choices, your level of stress. And if you're going through different stressful seasons, which honey, I've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, told y'all last year we had a family member going through colon cancer. Praise God, they're healthy, like they're good. I've had a family member have major surgery, which directly impacted me as the caregiver. Like lots of life stuff. Life is lifing. And if you are in a season of life is lifing, that can also affect your food choices because of your hormones. And as we know with GLP-1 medication, because it has in there the hormone, it's going to the hormone receptors. And so these hormones, honey, to quote fried green tomatoes, really do matter even more than I have ever recognized. I'll use my I statements. For me, this has been so eye-opening, the correlation with hormones as being on GLP-1 medication. And so while coffee alone may not directly cause weight gain, it can lead to stress-related eating behaviors. That can cause weight gain, and that can impact your weight. Clutch your pearls. I know, that's what I said. I was like, are you kidding me right now? So coffee alone does not lead to weight gain. Let me repeat that. But it can lead to stress eating that can impact your weight, and that can cause weight gain. There we go, honey. So when I feel jittery like that, when I was having too much coffee, for me, some of the things is having great substitutes. Hello, like Gem Bites, if I'm wanting something to help give me that energy boost, but not the jittery feeling that comes with an energy boost. Being mindful of your coffee intake and how it affects your stress and eating habits will be a very useful part of your health strategy for Ozempic and for WEGOVY. So swapping something like coffee to like matcha or things like that can also be helpful. Coffee drinks can be calorie dense. And so another thing to consider is what you add to your coffee, like sugars, processed syrups, high-fat dairy products. These extras to temporarily raise your blood glucose levels and contribute to weight gain, which can, if you're trying to lose weight, hello. One review of research noted drinking high-calorie beverages with lots of sugars can lead to weight gain. A review also pointed out that Americans, I don't need to laugh. I'm like, oh, it's like the typical stereotype of Americans. The Americans get more than 300% of the recommended daily amount of sugar a day. So having coffee without sugar in it might be a good way to cut back. Sweetened drinks can contribute to extra calories like daily intake, which can lead to weight gain. For me, I just put like a splash of half and half in my coffee or my decaf coffee typically. Or I'll have a protein coffee, because that has a sweetener in it with like a decaf shot of espresso mixed in my big drink, and I'll drink it iced. You could drink it hot, but I like it iced. Like there's different ways you can do this. There's totally different ways you can do this. But I think even just being aware, like I have been in such a zone of not even being aware of these, has been super helpful. This is the other thing. Too much coffee can be dehydrating. Although moderate coffee intake probably isn't dehydrating, the caffeine can act as a diuretic. So in other words, drinking too much coffee could lead to dehydration if you're not drinking enough water. And my husband and I were talking about that the other day. I was like, honey, I feel like a prune. And I realized, I was like, I drank a ton of decaf coffee. I was like pounding it. I was so excited. We got some new, I love Bones coffee. If you guys haven't tried Bones coffee, it's amazing. I have the discount thing I'll put down below. But they have new decaf flavors that came out, and I just kept drinking them, but I was so thirsty later because I wasn't having enough water. And so something to keep in mind with that, keeping in mind with that. And health benefits with coffee, now here's the good news. Coffee can offer a range of benefits that you might be curious to help. Research suggests that coffee may boost your resting metabolic rate. Oh, let's shake it, honey. That number of calories you burn while you're at rest, your metabolic rate. Your resting metabolic rate. Yeah, we like that. We like that. For example, a notable study found that after drinking caffeinated coffee, fat oxidation, your fat burning, honey, increased by 29% in women with a healthy BMI and a 10% in those with obesity. Woo! That's exciting. Coffee may also make you feel more alert and energized, which may encourage you to exercise more. One of the things with the Gem Bites, I like taking these near my lifting schedules. You guys know I've gotten really into lifting. And so I like having them about an hour before I go lift. I feel that extra energy kick that helps me for working out. Plus, one study suggested that caffeine can make it feel like you're exerting less effort during your workout to help boost your performance. Also, drinking black coffee or just adding a splash of low-fat milk doesn't tack on too many calories on there. And it can be nearly calorie-free, about 2 calories per cup plus the calories from the milk. Overall, honey, I can't do milk. I'll do half and half. Overall, coffee can be a helpful part of your routine and boosting. Now, so there's something that's called, they talk in here about some other options you can have for your drinks, which you guys know I have very strong drink preferences. I'm a drink and beverage girly. I love talking about drinking my electrolytes and my sparkling waters. And I do like having greens and collagen drinks and protein drinks. And when I'm not eating as much, I typically have 2 or sometimes 3 of these big tumblers near me at all times, or big bottle of water. Like I like drinking, if I'm not eating, making that substitute. Because for me, the biggest thing with GLP-1 has not been elimination, it's been substituting instead. So what can I put in place of? Not get rid of, but in place of. And that's been really, really helpful. So the key takeaways here are fascinating. Like, they're so fascinating to me. I do want to make sure you run and get your special thank you to Gem. You can go to dailygem.com/queen, use the discount code QUEEN to save an extra 20% off the Gem Energy Bites. I love their stuff. It's been so helpful for my Zepbound fatigue. I will also link that in the description link below. Our emoji of the day is going to be a cup of coffee. I do emojis of the day to get to know you better because I care. It's also my bat signal to pray over you if you don't believe in prayer, uplift you in positive thought. Cheers! And then our question of the day is, what are you doing today to move you closer to your goals? Tell me in the comments below. I'm very curious to know. I'm very curious to know. So my sweet friends, make sure you also check out in our group. We'll continue our conversation over there in countessofshopping.com/group. My sweet friends, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. I'm Countess of Shopping. Count my blessings because life is delicious. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys. Have a great day.